So in the last video, we covered return and monthly divergence and how to access that information for any particular Darwin that has data housed on the Darwinex FTP data repository. We covered return and monthly divergence that carried average, monthly, and per timestamp divergence information. Now we're going to cover daily fixed divergence and daily real divergence. Daily fixed divergence is a time series that simulates the effect of applying a fixed level of divergence on returns, and daily real divergence analyzes the effect of applying the actual investor's divergence on returns. To access these two pieces of data from the FTP data repository, we need to go back into our Python class, and here we need a few things as before. We need firstly an analytics headers definition for each of those that we are interested in for daily fixed divergence and daily real divergence. And the header definition is essentially how the data is structured in those files on the FTP server. Timestamp profit difference, the same for both. We've also created an additional function similar to previous functions that follows exactly the same structure. If you feel this code is repetitive, you are absolutely correct. It is repetitive for the purpose of imparting this information on these tutorials and for easy extensibility for yourselves. There is no need to have a method for each and every file. You can easily have one method and have different post-processing for each of those file types within one function. But for these tutorials, we thought it best to have a different method for each for demonstration and extensibility purposes. This function, getDailyFixedDivergence, to start off with daily fixed divergence data, again accepts a Darwin argument and a plot argument to enable you to plot that data on screen after you've retrieved it from the FTP server. It follows exactly the same logic as did the monthly and return divergence files. We execute a call to get analytics, providing the Darwin and the data type. Execute a call to apply with pandas.to numeric pass to it, coercing any errors. And finally, retrieve and plot the data if plot is set to true. Same with real divergence, exactly the same function, different data type. So here we'll go ahead and plot these to see what they look like. da.getDailyFixedDivergence, which simulates the effect of applying a fixed divergence to the Darwin. And here we'll specify again, for example, say Darwin LVS. Plot is by default set to true, therefore we don't need to specify it again. And here is the effect of applying the fixed divergence on the profit. Similarly, if we were to call the getDailyRealDivergence function, that would show us how the Darwin has evolved with the application of real divergence experienced by investors in the Darwin. And this will lead to a very different chart. In doing so, you get two things back. You get the plot, of course, but you also get the time series that demonstrates the effect of real versus fixed simulation of divergence on final profit. With this information, you can conduct several studies. For instance, the effect of divergence on your portfolio. You could download the divergence values for each Darwin in your portfolio and then create simulations to do with the same. You could also use these functions and these particular file types, daily real divergence, daily fixed divergence, etc., as criteria for determining whether you'd like to go into an investment on a particular Darwin or not. Let's say you're at time of execution and you have certain divergence criteria that you are not accessing the API for, but would like to see more than just the latest information. You'd also like a snapshot of how it has evolved historically. Accessing this data via Python in this manner directly from the FTP server will allow you to achieve those objectives and any other objectives that rely on divergence as a core metric. As always, if you enjoyed this presentation, please do consider sharing it with your social networks, colleagues, co-workers, and friends. And do subscribe to the Darwinex YouTube channel so you remain up to date with all future videos that will be released in this series and other topics discussed on Darwinex. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next time.